better. Okay, sorry for the slow setup. Felt like I've been behind all day today. Okay, so this is the first of our last 4 meetings. Um, Hopefully my audio is working. I had an audio issue again today, but it looks like everything's okay. My Linux laptop is just funny with peripherals. Anyway, so we're doing Lab 16 this week and also Project 4. So today I'm probably going to work through, it's possible I'll actually complete Lab 16 today. And all it is doing, Lab 16, is giving you more options to incorporate into your 4th project. So that'll be due before Sunday, and Project 4 is due by Sunday. And then next week we do a C++ boot camp. So the reason I have the schedule up is just to draw your attention to the fact that next week's a little bit different because it's the last week of the semester. So if you were watching my warm-up screen, you saw that the last day of the semester is Friday, May 29th. And what that means is that that's the day where I'm no longer being paid after that, and so we close out our business for the semester. We complete our grading work, and then we submit your grades, and then we're done. So I don't accept any work in my classes after May 29th. So please just keep that in mind when you're planning for next week. We're going to do some introductory work in C++, and we'll do walkthroughs together on Tuesday and Thursday. So please just keep that in mind so that you plan accordingly, because you need to get your work turned in by by Friday next week, the 29th at the latest, which is a little bit different than normal weeks. I've also put that, so if you go to the schedule, I've also put a note to that effect on the schedule. So notice the final lab is due by May 29th. That's a good question. I actually haven't thought about it yet. So Nate's asking, how do you want it submitted? So I would say a link to, I didn't say, did I? So yeah, you could give me a link to your Replit, and I can go look at your work there, or you can email me your C++ work directly. So either one of those things will work. Just whatever you feel most comfortable with, so that I have a chance to look at your work and see what you did. Is any way you want to do that is okay. But a link to Replit is a good idea if you want to do it that way. And probably on Thursday, and certainly tomorrow, I'll be available to answer questions. But probably on Thursday we'll kind of start getting set up to do the C++ boot camp around questions about Project 4. So Thursday will be your questions about Project 4, and then also maybe we'll start sort of gearing up for the C++ boot camp. So then we'll have a chance to sort of experiment with. All of us can try different ways maybe that we'll submit our work, but you can just paste your C++ code into an email and send it to me, or send me a link to your Replit, and either of those things will work. For those of you who are watching the video later, if you click on the link to the final lab, you'll see the reference to Replit. It is an online tool that we'll use to do C++. So you can worry about that later if you want to, if you're watching videos. Okay, so anyway, please note the final lab is due by May 29. We're going to do 2 or 3, possibly even 4 of the exercises together. and you're only responsible for sending me the results of 2 of the exercises. So my guess is I'm going to try to get through 2 exercises on Tuesday and then 2 more on Thursday uh, to give everyone a sort of an introduction to C++ programming, which is important for those of you who are going on to more programming courses, and maybe less important to you if you're a math major or not doing any more programming. But there are points, so please just keep that in mind. It's still something that you want to participate in because it's more points than a normal lab. I think it's 300 points. Okay, but feel free to ask as questions come up. So I've set up to do lab 16 already. I'm going to hide my browser. Okay, so I've set up to do lab 16. It's one of the tested ones, so you'll download a test and a source code file. And then we'll fill in the source code file. The first thing I'm going to do is just do go test on it and see. I'm likely to fail. So yeah, it's what I expected. Is since I haven't touched the code, things are likely to happen. So that's expected, but at least we know we're all set up and ready to go. Okay, so on this lab, there's actually 2 structs this time. So there's a struct called user, and user is really just a screen name. The whole idea, by the way, I got by reading through Twitter's documentation and looking at the kinds of information that they store about their users. I'm not a Twitter user myself. I was years ago. Anyway, so there's a user struct, which is really just a screen name for now. There's a function that generates a new user. Notice this one is not a star user, so what that tells us is this is creating a user that once the user with the screen name has been created, we won't modify the user. We also have a tweet struct, and a tweet is some text, a user. So notice that I actually embedded a reference to the user struct inside of the tweet struct. So you can compose structs by adding structs to other structs. So a tweet struct has inside of it a user struct. And then it has a slice of hashtags, string slice, and then another user reference. So this is a slice of users who are users who mention this tweet. And again, this is taken from Twitter's documentation. And there's a link in the source code to that for people who are at all interested. You can go actually read about Twitter's data management a little bit on that web page. Okay, so there's a user struct, there's a tweet struct. The new user function has already been written for us, so we don't have to worry about that, but the new tweet struct has not been. Now this one is returning a star tweet, a pointer to a tweet, and what that tells us is that it's creating something that is modifiable. So we're going to do what we've always been doing, which is create a tweet, and then we're going to left to right, top to bottom, we're going to fill out the fields. So the text parameter is the text field of the tweet. Unfortunately, the first parameter, which is text, is also the first field, which is text. We have a user parameter called author, but that's great because that pairs up with the author field. Now we have a hashtag, and this makes life a little bit more difficult because the hashtag is just one string as opposed to a slice of strings. So we're going to have to make a slice of strings to put the hashtag in it. So I'm going to make a slice of string, and I'm going to put that hashtag in it. And then I will put that hashtag's slice at the field location for the tweet. So that one's a little bit more complicated. And then we have mentions. So I'm going to do the same thing, which is I'll make a mention slice which is a slice of user, and it's empty to start. We weren't given any users who mentioned it, so the mentions is just an empty user slice. The last step there is to turn this regular tweet into a star tweet so it can be modified, and we do that with the ampersand. Okay, so now we are going to go test again and see if anything changed. So before it crashes, so let's see. Okay, so it's failing, and let's run it with the -v option, like I've been doing, because I want to see the ones that I passed as well. So did I pass any? I did. So there's a test of making a user probably. Here's a test of just a basic tweet that hasn't had much changes, and then I don't even know what that test is, but it turns out that I'm passing 3 tests with the code that I've written. Okay, I'll just work our way down the set. So this next one is a method, and the way I know it's a method is because after the word function there is a t*tweet. So this t is the tweet instance that's going to be modified here. So we want to add a hashtag. Well, we just do that by accessing that tweet's hashtags. So we access that field, which is a slice of string. Let me go up. Here's the slice of string. So we're going to access t, their hashtags, and we're going to append to their current hashtags the new hashtag that came in as a parameter. So there's that hashtag. And that's it. So we update this tweet's hashtags by appending to its current hashtags a new single hashtag. In theory, that's it. I just have to remember that when I'm dealing with structs, I use the dot notation to access their fields. So let's go test that. In theory, I might be passing more. Let's see, test user, test basic. Oh, I failed test duplicate. Have I started to pass any more? Not yet, I haven't. Well, we'll keep going. Here's another one, add mention. So it's the same thing. Mentions is a slice of user, so I can update t, that's this tweet right here. I can update its mentions by appending to what it currently has as mentions with this new mention right here. That dot should be a comma. Okay, so I take this new incoming mention and I append it to the tweet's mentions, and then I overwrite the tweet's mentions with new ones, with the new extra one. And then I'm going to go test. Yeah, you can certainly make it. It's perfectly fine to do it in different ways. So this is just one way to do it. If you have other ways that you prefer to do it, there's plenty of other ways to do it. Can you paste? Let's compare notes just to see yours, baby doll, if you want to, while I go test. Let's see, 1, 2 passes. I'm still. Ah, I know why yours is more complicated because I didn't read stuff. Okay, so baby doll is correct. If we go back, we should read what add hashtags is supposed to do. So it's not supposed to append a hashtag if it's already there. So we have to go search for it. So we are only supposed to add this hashtag if it's not already in there. So we're going to have to write some code to search for it. So I'm going to do this. Going to make a bool called already there. By default, this variable will be false. And then I'm going to range over, call it h, range over the hashtags, pulling out single hashtags at a time, and I will say if any of those h's is the same as the hashtag that I'm trying to add, then that would be a problem. Thank you for saying that, baby doll, because then I went and I read my own instructions more carefully. All right, so this code's job is to check and see if a hashtag is already there. So I do that by ranging over the current hashtags, pulling out one at a time, which I call H. If any of those H's from t.hashtags is the same as the one that I'm trying to add, then it is already there. Okay, now that once that loop is done, I can say if it's not already there, then my fancy code can work. That's probably more like what Baby Doll has, because she probably did it correctly because she paid attention, whereas I wasn't. So this first part of the function is to establish whether or not the hashtag is already present. If it's not, which is what the exclamation point means. Oh, that's right, you wrote a function for it. Sweet. I'm going to use hers, and so here's what Baby Doll did, and this is cool. I'm going to steal it. So she wrote a function for it. Okay, so here's what she did. She wrote a whole separate function. Her algorithm is actually the same, but let's use hers because that's more fun. T dot hashtags and the hashtag. Sweet, that's pretty cool. Let's go test it. Yeah, so now I pass the duplicate hashtags, which is awesome. Hey, Baby Doll, if you have for add mention, that'd be cool. So what I did, she has a function, if you pass it, a string slice and a string, it will tell you if that string is in that slice. So when I called it, I passed it the tweets hashtag slice and the hashtag I'm trying to add, and if it came back false, which is what the bang means, the exclamation point, if that comes back false, that means this hashtag is not in this slice of hashtags, which means that it is safe to append it without getting a duplicate. Pretty cool. We need something here too. So anyway, the point is, Baby Doll added a helper function to do this job, which is quite cool. It made this function look a lot cleaner and prettier. And it separated out the job of true or false, that hashtag is in that slice of hashtags. Pretty cool. Do you have a contains mention? Okay. Okay, in the mentions she did it. Oh wait, no, you do have a contains mention. Where is that? Ah. Okay, here we go. So she did the same thing for contains mention. So here's her contains mention. It's the same algorithm. So you give her a slice of users, and then a particular user to see if it's in that slice, and then it returns true if it is and false if it isn't. So I could do the same thing here if not contains mention, and here I'm going to pass the tweets mentions. and then the mention I want to add. If it doesn't contain it already, then it's safe to add it. So that was pretty sweet. She also created a function to do that job, which was a nice idea. So let's see if that works. Yep, so I'm passing the duplicate mentions now, meaning it's trying to make a duplicate mention, and that should not be allowed. It's also trying to make a duplicate hashtag, which is not allowed, so I'm passing that test. Alright, so we're getting pretty close now. Okay, to string. It's the last one. It's the hardest one. We have this template here. So some parts of it are easy and other parts of it is hard. So the first part is the screen name of the author of a tweet. So there's a whole bunch of different ways to do this, but we're going to get the screen name and then the text of the tweet and then a list of the hashtags and then how many mentions it has and who was the last mentioner. So here we go. Whole bunch of different ways to do this. So I'll start with the way that comes to my mind and then we can compare notes if we want. So I'm going to make a string. I will call it output. And the first thing I'm going to put on it is the tweet's author's screen name. So that one's tricky, but sometimes you have to deal with multiple layers. So I have the tweet, and if I go to the tweet, what I get is a user. And what I really want about the user is the screen name. So you'll notice that I string together dot notation to get down to the level of the screen name. So I have the tweet, and then I use the dot to delve down into the author, and then at the author, which is a user. The author is a user, which means I have one more layer to go to get down to the screen name. That also gives me a hint up here that it's author.screenName somehow. So, and then I'm going to add. Do I want to do it that way? Let's do it this way to start. I'm going to add the new line. So you can just tack on stuff with the plus. So there's the initial one. Now I'm going to do the second part. So this time you're going to see me do plus equals because I want to accumulate more output. So the second part is the text of the tweet and a new line character. I don't know why I put that semicolon there. Next is the hashtags with commas around them, it looks like. So I'm going to cheat and go look at the test and kind of see what it expects. Somewhere it's got some and there's the tweet. Okay, it looks like it just wants spaces, not commas. So this should not, oh wait, it has spaces. Okay, so it's an @ sign followed by the hashtag string followed by a space. Okay, so that's not too bad. So I will range over the tweet's hashtags, pulling each hashtag with this H, and then I will tack that onto, so accumulate onto that, the next hashtag, and a space. Oh, an @ sign goes in front. Hopefully this works. We will see. So there's an @ sign, followed by the hashtag, followed by a space, and that'll do that for all of them, accumulating all of them onto the output. Okay, so that's the next one, and then the last piece is this how many mentions and who's the last mentioner. So put accumulate, how many mentions? That's t, that's the length of t dot mentions. That's the number of mentions, is the length of that slice, plus space mention, last mentioned by, oh, by the way, after the hashtags, I forgot to tack on a new line character after all the hashtags are printed out across. Then after that, I put a new line. Okay, so here's the number of mentions, space, mentions, last mentioned by, space, and then we need to get the screen name of the last mentioner. So we're going to have to go to the mentions. We're going to have to go to the last one, which is one less than the length of it. That's the last one. So that's the index of the last one. And then that needs a screen name. So that's the hardest one to do, I think. I don't know if it needs a new line there. I'm going to say yes, and then if I fail a test, we'll take it off. So it's not much code, but that last one's pretty tricky. So you have to know how do I get to the last mentioner, who is a user. Well, I go to mentions, and then I use the square brackets to hit an index, and then I take the length of that same mentions less 1. That should give me the index of the last element in the slice. Once I have that last user in the slice, then I grab their screen name. And then the last thing is I return all of that output. Is it not like this string bit? I bet it doesn't like this string bit. What's it complaining about? Uh-huh. It doesn't like this integer here. So we're going to have to work around it. And we might try baby dolls here in a second. So when you have this situation right here where it doesn't like this, let's do it in a different way. So let's use sprintf. We used this last week. I'm going to have to use this trick to get that integer in there. And that falls off. So let me put it on the next line so you can see it better. Yeah, okay. And then we might try out baby dolls and see and see. Probably hers is, yeah, hers is a lot nicer than mine. So here's a messy one where I just pieced all the parts together. I ran into a problem here at the point of plugging the mentions in because I couldn't just tack on that counter. I had to use sprintf to get it in there. So let's see if I'm passing with my code, and then we'll try baby dolls. Let's see. So my guess is, yeah, I have a feeling that it didn't want me to put this last new line on there, if I had to guess. Yeah. So right, that last line does not have a new line character. So there's my nasty way of doing it. Let's try this. Let's try a different way of doing it. And then you will have seen both, and you can decide which one you would like. So here's baby doll's version, and we'll talk ourselves through it. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think my way is kind of a mess, and you sort of have the weird problem that I got to that point where I needed to get an integer in there, and I had no choice but to use sprintf at that point. Okay, but yeah, you can do it, which is kind of interesting. So the pluses only works if there's strings everywhere. As soon as I got to a point where I tried to plus an integer, which is the length of a slice, it no longer worked, and I had to resort to a different method. Okay, so what baby doll has is this string that she calls template, and then she does a nest printf on it. So the way she did it, which is cool, um, so she has a string. I wonder if that's space. Is that pass? Well, we'll find out. And then a new line. So that's the first line. That's the name. And then she has another string in a new line. That's the text. Is this going to work? We'll find out. And then print out the hashtags and then print out the mentions. So let's see if it works. We don't need this line because we don't want to do any printing. Let's see what it says. And we can always sort of touch it up if needed. Okay, I failed the print one, and it's because of this part right here. Oh, and the last mentioned by bit. So I'm going to touch this one up. Let's see. So we have string and then another string. Oh yeah, that's going to be tricky. Then it would be another string, which would be all the pieces, and then mentions, and then we'd still need to do last mentioned by %s. The test doesn't want that new line there. So anyway, what she's showing, I'm gonna just to not try not to confuse people. You can do one sort of giant formatted print here, and then sort of embed all the pieces in one place. This one needs, like this section would need a little bit of help right here. Because we have to, and then we'd need the last mentioner right here as well. Okay, so anyway, but what she's pointing out is there's a whole bunch of different ways you can do it. This way is one way to do it, which for some people maybe it would help you to sort of see how the pieces come together. So there's the first line with the screen name. The second line has the text. The third line is all the hashtags with @ in front of them and spaces behind them. The fourth line is nasty because we need to get this counter in here. So the fourth line is going to be this. And then at the end of the fourth line, we tack on the screen name of the last user who mentioned that tweet. And that, I think, passes the test. So that passes all the tests. So that's a pretty tough little problem to contend with. All right, and I'm just going to hit pause for a sec. I know there's not a whole lot of you out there, but I'll give you time to absorb or ask questions. So we took Baby Doll's good idea, which was she made a pairing of functions. So she created a brand new function to sort of help with the work of add mention. The challenge there was that you're not supposed to add duplicates. So if there's a user already in there, don't add it. So she wrote a function to help work out whether or not there was a user in the mentions. And then she also did the same thing for the hashtag. She wrote a new function to help with that job. And then the rest of it was fairly straightforward. Made this tweet. Now these are new things, obviously, new tricks to see. That you can put slices inside of a struct, that you can put other structs inside of a struct, that you can put slices of other structs inside of a struct. That's just to here at the close of the semester, just to give you a sense that we can sort of layer these things on top of each other when we want to, which is pretty common technique. Okay, so I'm going to scroll. That's a lot. So Problems with my function. Well, let's fix yours, and as we're doing that, we'll see if we can figure out what's wrong. All right, so we're going to go redo to string by fixing up this one, um, which is likely to be fairly similar. So let's work on this one. I see the problem. I see a problem. Okay, so I saw one mentions it's mentioned by. All right, so let's comb through here a little bit. So line 84 now has a problem. Do you see it? So he created his variable is called name, which is perfectly fine. And then he's just appending to name and appending to name and appending to name. So that's perfect. He's growing it. There's something wrong with this line, line 84. There you go. Good one, Tyler. So that should be backslash in. There's also something wrong right in here. There you go. Yep, needs to be a space after by. And the reason is because after by, so note it says mention by, and then you're going to tack a name on there. So that next line actually tacks the name on, but you need that space or it ain't going to work. Let's test it. I have a feeling that's going to pass. Yeah, so that all passes. It's easy to miss those little details, isn't it? So that's the lab. That's the last full-on lab. So everything that's left now is the project and the C++ stuff. I'm happy to answer more lab questions if there are any, project 4 questions if there are any, or if there aren't either of those. Oh, yeah. I remember that old version actually. We looked at that. That was probably a few months ago now, wasn't it? But yeah, I think we had sort of worked our way through your setup, baby doll, and gotten that one to work. Okay, so anyway, I'll sort of sit here quietly for a bit and ask for your. Yeah, and you set up a whole bunch of variables, right? So like author text HT, you had already set that up like above that part, I bet. Um, I can try to show you how to download C++. It's I don't have a machine where that's easy to do, but I can try to show you how to do that. Now I did include. I'll bring up my browser and I'll show you. One of the reasons why I recommended Replit is because this is hard, but we'll try. I do not have a Windows machine. I don't use Windows, so um, I can go as far with it as I can. But if we go to the final lab, um, to do a setup in Windows, you have to do two steps. So the first step is you have to install Cygwin with these three tools in it, and I did link an instructions page for doing that. It's not going to look exactly like your version of Windows, so you may have to sort of work it out a little bit when it changes, but this does walk you through the entire process of downloading. Um, and it tells you how to select the pieces. Like here's G++, here's GDB, here's make, and then what the install process looks like. So that's the first step, is you have to go download Cygwin. And I think on this page, yeah, it takes you to the Cygwin website. So it's not easy. But there is a setup file here on the Cygwin website, which again I can't run because I don't run Windows. Um, but there's the setter upper, and then once you have that and you execute it, you'll get hopefully something that starts to look like uh, this set of instructions. And once that's fully complete, um, then you have to do the second step, which is called setting your path. And I also linked to some instructions for that. It doesn't look exactly like Windows 10, so you're going to have to figure out how to find the control panel, but probably if you press the Windows button and type control panel, it'll come up. Um, but you will see something like this system's property, and then it's going to have you click the environment variables button, and then for the most part it's going to look very similar to this. But again, I don't have a Windows machine, so I can't show that live. Yeah, the instructions are a little bit off. You have to sort of figure it out. Yes, you can write C++ in Atom. I do it all the time. It's going to feel, once you get that installed, I can show you the next steps. Um, let me see if I have a virtual machine. Maybe we can do it. So this the best I can offer is just to try to show you a virtual machine and go through the process. So let's try that. I'll try to go slow. Let's see, I have a Windows 10 here. Okay, I'll do my best. I'm going to change the view here and show a virtual machine. So give me a moment. Alright, so we'll try. Oh boy, I don't know the password. Okay, there's the password. Um, okay, so here we go. I'm going to open up and go to my own instructions and follow them. So let's start with that. Maybe. Why won't this browser come up? How do you start? There it comes. At some point. This is very slow. Alright, so go to my own website. So if you're doing this, then get ready. This is the Windows. This is my best shot at it, and I'll leave it up as a video so you can go through it. I have to go get Adam, because I don't have Adam on this virtual machine. So let me go grab that first. You won't, of course, have to do the Adam part, and this thing's gonna run like a dog, because I got a lot of stuff going. Let me kill this. Here, let me see if I can shut down a little bit of my software. Okay, so I'm going to do that in parallel, maybe. Why am I not getting Adam? And why won't that open? This Microsoft Edge stinks, gotta tell you. It runs like crud. Sure would like to get a faster browser. Maybe it'll catch up. Right now, nothing's happening on this virtual machine. Waiting, waiting patiently. It doesn't auto. Some things it might auto choose, but I think generally it doesn't auto choose. I can't. This Edge thing is just unusable. It's just so terrible. It's terrible. I have no idea what's going on, other than it just doesn't work. This is why I don't use Windows, because it's just so bad. We'll see. I cannot get it to do anything right now. I can't get anything. Can I do Control Alt Delete or anything in here? Okay, I'm going to try to restart it. Thanks for your patience. Again, I don't use Windows, so I'm handicapped here a little bit. Let me see if I bump up the RAM a little bit, if that helps. This seems alright. Is this one any better? Let me try this other one. Oh man. And we'll cross our fingers that there's like a better browser in here or something. Oh, it's Edge. Well, so be it. Okay. obt.net. Hey, getting some life out of it here. So remember, I don't have Atom yet. I got to go get it. Edge does my website terribly. Um, but what I need to do is I need to go get the final lab. Okay. Uh, Wait, this seems wrong. Wrong class. It's the wrong class. Yeah. Alright, is this the thing? It is. Okay, here we go. So let's go do it. I'm going to go to this Sigwin tab, which, boy, Edge does not seem to like to open tabs. And I'm going to go to the Sigwin site from there. And then I'm going to grab this setup file right here. And then I want to run it. Can you see my... kinda you can. Yes. Okay, so hopefully this is the same kind of thing that you're seeing. Sigwin net release setup program. So I'm going to say next. Just going to leave that be, install from internet. I'm pretty sure that's what the instructions say. Let me look on Brave. They do. So I'm getting the same kind of, you can't see it very well, but on the Brave browser, I'm seeing the same thing right now, so I'm happy with that. So next, root directory. So I see the same thing as they do, so I ain't messing with that. All users is what they say, so leaving that alone. Local package directory, I'm not going to touch that, so I just recommend, like, don't change things if you don't have to. Whatever. And then we may have to wait for a second. Pretty sure that I'm still on... they said direct connection, but that's fine. Alright, choose a download site. So specify what site you want to download. If you are at... But basically you can choose whatever. So just choose whatever. I'll just click the first one. Why not? Just click one of these. Okay, now we're doing some downloady stuff. Okay, here we are. So, attributes of a seventh dialog. Okay, so it's not exactly the same, but let's see what the category says. That's good. I'm going to expand all. Okay, so if we expand all, they say what we want to look for is developer packages. So DEVEL, developer packages. I'm going to expand that. Then they say, scroll down to UCGCC-G++. These are in alphabetical order. GCC-G++. It's right here. Okay, so the trick here is, don't worry about this source column, but this little drop down here. I usually just pick the highest number. So just pick the highest number here. It doesn't really matter as long as you pick something other than skip. But I'll just pick the highest number, which is 9.3.0-2. And then you'll notice instead of skip next to it, it now says 9.3.0-2. Then they say find GDB. Okay, here's GDB. I'll do the same thing here. So pick the highest number. If it says test, that's okay. Just pick the highest number. So now GDB is 9.1-1. Then they say find make. So I'm going to scroll down until I find make. Make. Here's make right here. Same thing. So I will pick the highest number from the list, which for me is 4.3-1. And then for them, now we're on number 17. So with the packages selected, we're finally ready. So click the next button. Next button. And then just going to click next again, let it keep going. And then it's going to install for a bit. Your mileage may vary on the install speeds. While that's going on, I'm going to try to get Atom for myself. So ignore that for a second while I go grab Atom. It's still, by the way, doing this. What about Atom? Atom IDE. Go. You guys already have Atom, so you don't have to do anything about this part, but I'm pretty sure I don't have it. And then I'll go back and show you what's going on here. So that's still going on for me. So anyway, this could be a bit. We'll just, yeah, it's likely to take a while. But we'll just wait. It's installing a lot of stuff, so we'll just wait it out. And I'm just going to keep switching back and forth. Make sure I get Atom installed on mine just so we can sort of do the same experience. So obviously you guys probably already have Atom. I don't, so I'm going to have to install it here. That's still going on for me, although I'm starting to feel like that progress meter is moving. And I intend to be installing Atom right now, but I'm not sure if that's happening or not. So again, sorry, you're seeing Atom, but gotta get it in there. We can probably just do path while we're here. So the path part, I gotta wait for this dumb edge is just so terrible. So I'm trying to get the path instructions, and we'll just see how far those get us. I mean, I know how to do this, but It might help someone if the instructions are sort of followable. I swear to you, yeah, I can see it says not responding. So let me kill the Atom tab and see if that breathes any life back into this sad browser. I also don't need the Cygwin tab anymore because I already got that stuff. I don't really need Atom's taking forever. Cygwin, I'm going. I don't need this set of instructions anymore. So right now, I'm trying to get to the set path instructions, which are fighting me. I clicked on recover page. Okay, so can I have these instructions? Can I? I don't know. I would like to. Click on that thing right there, but it won't let me right now. Hey, okay. Right click, open in new tab. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Okay, so now we're finally at path. Yeah, and installing developer tool, like one of the reasons I like Go a lot is because the install is pretty easy for almost everybody, and that's not typical. Installs for most developer tools are complicated. Okay, so setting the path. So on your computer, yeah, so this part, because, but notice this bit right here, that's probably the same. So this thing right here, I'm going to copy that. So highlight it and Control C to copy it. And then I'm going to go try to find the control panel. So if I click on the Windows 10 version, well, of course in Windows 10 it doesn't do anything. I clicked on it, I swear to you, I clicked on it, there it comes. What does settings take you to? Okay, so in Windows 10, they have made this kind of harder to get to, except for they've also made it easier. We want the control panel. We want to see the system properties, which is the control panel. So the quick way to get this is to click in the search bar down here and type control panel. And you get the control panel desktop app. So that's what I really want. There's other ways to get to that, by the way, but sometimes the easiest way in Windows 10 is just to go to the search bar and start typing what you want. So we'll go to the control panel here. Well, I'm clicking on it. I swear to you, I'm clicking on it. It's just not doing anything yet. Come on. I think maybe now something might be happening. I don't know. I'm waiting to see this control panel. I got it. I got it. Except for now I can't get this thing to go away. I don't know how to make that go away. Just go away. Hold on, Atom started. How do I get, okay, yay, it went away. Okay, so is anything obvious coming up in here? Not that I see, so let's search for what we're looking for in the instructions. Okay, actually, why didn't I just do it here? Okay, so what we're looking for is environment variables. So we can actually search the control panel for that. ENVIRONM, environment. Edit the system environment variables. You can edit it for your account, should be fine. And then we're looking for path. So on theirs, it's in a slightly different order, but here's path. And notice I'm in the user variables for my user, and that's fine. So path. You can either double click it or click on edit. Same thing. And then there's already stuff in here. So what you do is you go to the end, which I'm pretty sure is what this is going to say. At the end of the variable value, add this stuff. Actually, they told you the whole thing. So you add a semicolon, and then you control V to paste in the C sigwin bin thing. But the way they present it is they say, go there and add colon or semicolon C, all that stuff. So you could just copy that whole thing. Click OK. And then OK your way out of this. So OK, OK. I can close this. Welcome guide. Don't show the welcome screen anymore. Thank you. So I'm going to kill Adam. I'm going to kill everything. That brings me back to, why isn't that close? Brings me back to Sigwin. I'm just going to leave this stuff like this. So for me, Sigwin was still going. All right, so now sort of the real test. The first thing to do is to, just like we do in the Go language, hold down the Shift key and right click somewhere. I'm going to right click on the desktop. Open command window here. Hopefully yours does. And then type G++. Okay, that is an error, so that path thing is not correct. So where's the file explorer? I want the file explorer. Explorer, file explorer. So let's go get the file explorer, which is maybe never going to open. So Amanda, you're probably having the same problem. You probably got all that way and then it's still. So what we need to do is go hunt down the Sigwin stuff. So I opened up the file explorer and I'm going to go to this PC and then the C drive and then Sigwin 64, and there's the catch. Sigwin 64 bin. Okay, so there's the whole difference. If I click up here in the address bar, by the way, I get, so it's Sigwin 64. So I'm going to go back and fix my path. It's way faster, by the way, just to type environment down here. And then you get edit the system environment variables from the search bar. So environment variables. And then I'm going to go back to that path and I'm going to edit it because mine has a 64 after Sigwin right here. So that had to be the problem. I also noticed, by the way, that semicolon is gone. So make sure that there's a, you can barely see that probably, but make sure there's a semicolon and then C colon backslash Sigwin 54 backslash bin backslash. Kind of nasty. But it's the 64, and also I accidentally didn't get a semicolon in front of it. And then we can OK our way out of there. Now let's do shift right click on the desktop again. Why are you doing this thing? Let me close this. Alright, shift right click, open command window, and then type G++. That's what we want. So if you get no input files, then you have the C++ compiler working. So I'll wait until I get a got it or OK from you guys before we try a little example. And I don't know, I hopefully I didn't go too fast. If you're a developer though, get used to that because you will be doing this from time to time. You'll have to do weird installations. And once you get that working and it says fatal error, that's good. That means that the tool is available, the G++ compiler, but we haven't given it any code to work on yet. Yeah, so I need to search for environment. I usually get it just by typing envi. I get this. Environment variables, and then path. So be careful you're on path. And then for me, the path, I had to add, I'm going to put some spaces so you can read it a little bit easier. I had to add all this. This is my stuff that I added. Just once you're done, take the spaces back out. So those spaces don't belong there. I'm just pushing it over so you can see it better. Yeah, your path is wrong. That's what that means. If it says it's not recognized, it's because your path is wrong. Copy your path into the chat so we can see what your path looks like, and I'll fix it for you. But if you're getting a not recognized, it's because your path is wrong. Don't forget, I just spaced it out so that you could read it better. That's assuming that you didn't change anything while you were running the installer also. Yeah, your path is wrong. The only difference that we had, we discovered that there's a 64. Otherwise, I just followed the instructions that I gave us. I literally just copied this and then discovered that, oh, ours is supposed to have a 64 after the word Sigwin. So you shouldn't find it being much different. I'm going to fire up Adam. We'll get Nate's path issue worked out here. Um, if you change the path, by the way, you need to kill the terminal. So whenever every time you change the path, kill the terminal and restart it. I'm trying to launch Adam, by the way, so I'm kind of stuck right now. This is why I use REPL, because people, um, unless you're a Linux user, you probably don't know how to do path, and it's quite difficult without someone standing over your shoulder to help you. So I'm just in regular old Adam, by the way. So I'm just going to make a file here. Um, and I'm going to save this on my desktop. And the important part here is I'm just going to call it like a test.cpp. So save it as .cpp. And you'll notice that Adam immediately recognizes it as C++. So now Adam realizes it's C++. I'm going to unpin this a little bit, squish it. So anyway, Adam is just a text editor, and source code for programming languages is just text. Um, it only becomes C++ code when you run it against a C++ compiler. Just like Go only becomes Go code if you run it with the Go tools. Otherwise, it's just text that you type. That's all it is. It's just text. Um, so right now, it's just text. Now Adam, because I saved it with .cpp at the end. Uh, so I'm betting mine doesn't. So uh, this is why I thought Repl.It's a better idea, because it's hard and I can't really help you guys on your computers. I would bet you $1 million that I'm about to get mine working. So something ain't right somewhere. Um, you got to check your path. I don't know what else to say. Um, I'll bring my path back up and you can look at it. Yeah, works just fine. Works based on the instructions. Now I did have to go check and I discovered that there's a 64 in there. But mine works. There it is. Hello world. I'll bring it back up and you can look. Make sure that you're doing the variables in the top. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but do the variables in the top. So here's mine again. I know it's tiny, but there's mine. All I did is follow the instructions. I did make the one change, so we discovered that you had to put a 64 in there after Sigwin. Um, but but that was the main thing. This ain't easy. It does take patience. But notice if you're changing the environment variables, you need to close this terminal and restart it. You got to close it and restart it. If you don't, it won't pick up those changes. But just be patient. You'll figure out what it is that you did wrong. Here's what I added. I'll push it over so you can see. Then it works. Then it just works. I didn't have a problem. Um, and now I did have a problem until I put the 64 in there, and then I didn't have a problem. You got to close and restart the terminal, of course. So notice my terminal's closed. Unless you change something. So bring up your file explorer and go look. So go to this PC, C drive, Sigwin64, bin, and then you click up here. So that's what mine looks like, which is the same thing that's in my path. What I'm telling that path, all that means is that Windows needs to look in this folder for programs. And it needs to do that because the G++ program is in here. I don't know how else to say that. Butte College. Well, did you go to your file explorer? Um, I, 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 I just followed the links that were on my own instructions and it worked. So I don't know what I can do. Um, except for the path was a little bit weird. You have the path right? I don't know what that other stuff is. Um, that doesn't look anything like my path with all that app data. I don't know what that. So you went to environment variables, and you're getting. You need to type in there. That's the whole point. You have to do that. Look, I can type stuff. You got to type bin on there. Type bin on there. That's an editable field. Just type what needs to be typed in there. My guess is, Amanda, that you're not clicking on path. That's what I think. You're clicking on temp or TMP or something and not path. Because I don't have anything in here that looks like user profile, although I do see something that looks like user profile in others of these settings here. But that's not what we need. We need path. Path. Which is what this says. Path. And again, I mostly got that. I just got this directly off these 2 pages of instructions. We did find that Sigwin is not correct. It's for us Sigwin 64, but the bin still stays. So that was a little trick, which we found out the hard way. Um, I don't know. I don't know why your path looks funny and mine doesn't. Um, just be positive, because I'm noticing, like, if I double click on temp, well, that looks like that. Let's see what TMP. I'm just looking to see what looks like it might match. There's OneDrive. There's the path down here. If you're still finding it, Amanda, try the path on the systems part. Well, I can't edit because I'm not I'm at a reduced privileges user. Um, I don't know. I find that peculiar, but should just go there. Um, it just something feels wrong if that's your path, and the only place where I'm seeing user profile. Well, yeah, there's something feels wrong. If you can edit this other path, try that. Um, Now maybe my version of, I assume you're seeing the same things that I am. I don't know. Um, but yeah, if that is in fact your path, um, then you have it right. But something feels funny about your path. Are you on a? Are you? Hmm, something feels wrong about that. If you can get to the system variable path, try that instead. That's not really a reset, but you should have had, like, mine added Atom. When I installed Atom, I got Atom on here. Like, it automatically did that part. So I don't know, but you can sort of see why we opted for Replit, but you need to get that Sigwin 64/bin thing on your path somehow. Um, I'd have to, unfortunately, if I can't see and control your desktop, I'm not very useful to you. If you can edit the system path, then edit that one. Just tack it onto that one instead. I can't here in my settings. I don't have it to allow that. Yeah, give that a shot. Edit your system path, and then close and reopen, and maybe that'll work. Same thing for Nate. If you have access to it, edit your system path. I do not, because I created a non-administrator user. But yeah, I get frustrated with Windows. Plus, I'm in a virtual machine, so it runs really, really slow, so it's quite difficult. I can wait around for a bit if you want me to, and we'll see if you get path working that way. Ah, okay. Thank goodness. Um, Perfect. So now, if you want to, you can just spin up a little program. So what I did, so that's weird. I don't know why mine's different from yours, but maybe it has something to do with it being on a virtual machine. Oh, that's a relief. Okay, so system path. I might just have to start telling people to do that in Windows, and maybe that'll work. Okay, so I made a little program. It's a tiny little hello world just to test your compiler. I saved it on the desktop as test.cpp. So you can see the file name up there in the, you can see the file name up here in the Atom tab. But just like we do in Go, I'm also gonna, I saved it on the desktop. Here it is. So I'm gonna shift right click just like we do and open a command window. I'm gonna squeeze it so you can see everything around it. And then I'll show you the command you gotta type. I'm not gonna hit enter, but basically when you're ready, hit enter there. No. Oh yeah, it does. It does. So you're correct to notice that, Nate. Sorry, I was multitasking. Yeah, when you hit enter, it creates a new file. That file is called A, or it says A. It's actually a.exe, so if you type dir in here, you'll see a.exe. So in Go, we we compile and run in one step. That's what Go run does. In C++, it's two steps. So the first step is to compile, and then you have to run separately. So you run by just typing a.exe, and there it is. So if you make a change in the source code, you save it, then you have to do both steps again. You have to do the compiler step, and then you have to run it separately. So you're correct, it doesn't run it. Go does that, but C++ does not. If it successfully compiles, you get a brand new file called a.exe, which is an executable, and then you run it separately. So you guys can let me know before I sign off if you are getting a program to compile and run. So Go does both of those in a one combo step. You can separate them out, but we never do when I teach first semester programming because it's just easier to say Go run. But C++, you have to go through both steps. You have to compile it first, which gives you an executable, and then you have to run it. Uh, then you presumably you must be getting a compiler error then. Now, are you in the black console or are you in the blue PowerShell? If you're in the blue PowerShell, you have to put // in front of it. No, by default it'll save it with A on it. And again, just type dir and you can see. Um, for me, there's one executable. Now you may have other stuff, but there should be something with an A in there. And you can also see it on the desktop. Here it is. Yeah, so if you're in PowerShell, you have to put // in front of it. Yeah, it's not easy to get this tool. There's worse ones, by the way, than C++, but this one is difficult to get set up. So now you're all ready to go. You don't need Replic's help anymore. You can just program in Atom on your desktop or wherever you want. So it's not easy. I'm glad you guys were patient about it. And like I'm just getting more and more frustrated because of how awful my virtual machine is. Like everything I do, I have to wait a minute, it seems like, for. All right, so there we go. I'm going to sign off. I'll be here again in the morning. So if you want to show up in the morning, usually there's well, as you well know, no one's ever here asking me questions. So I'm happy to work with you on that stuff if you want. Bootcamp stuff, Project 4 stuff, whatever you'd like. So anyway, that's good. I'll have to remember that path thing because I'd never seen that before, but I don't use Windows hardly ever outside of class, so my exposure to it is fairly limited, which is also frustrating because I don't know what you guys see and how that's different. So anyway, I guess it worked out, kind of. See you next time.